All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and kick off a little bit about me. My name is Clarissa Frank, and like I said, I'm from the US, but currently live in Amsterdam. I love to cook, explore new neighborhoods and restaurants and parks with my bike. I'm a proud plant parent. Anyone else? I'm an avid journal writer and also beach lover, which I'm kind of in the wrong city for that, but that's okay. My ancestors come from China and Europe. I identify as a multicultural first gen Chinese American. And I intentionally, wanted to start off with non-work career stuff about me because I feel like we often just kick off with work things automatically. And my thriving dream life, work is not always first. So, but for work, I am a multicultural impact coach, facilitator, and learning consultant. As a coach, I'm really passionate about helping change makers deepen their impact without sacrificing their well-being. And I'm really excited to be here today. I have some exercises planned for us. So all you need is yourself. And if you have something to write on, with and on, obviously, but if there's another medium you like better, voice notes, drawing, a Google Doc, whatever, that's also fine. But I want to start off and kick off with this question. What is your big ass dream? And take a minute if you need to and write that down separately, but I'd love to hear some of them in the chat. And don't be shy. This is your chance to really put it out there. You probably won't see most of these people again, so be brave and take a chance and put in the chat, what are some of your big ass dreams that you want to see in this world and in your life? And I'll give you a second to do that. And again, feel free to put it in the chat. A mixed Asian empire. I love that. Thank you. What else? What else do we have? Owning a skincare line that is culturally significant and that gives back to my community. Oh, that's so nice. I love that. Well, I want you to, keep writing them in the chat. I want you to keep these, big ass dreams in your mind as we go through today. A lot of the session is going to be focused on the thriving part of my title of the workshop, because I believe when we're really thriving, it makes chasing our dreams that much more juicy and enjoyable. And so a little bit about me and my big ass dream, basically. For those of you who are new to me, for the last year-ish, I've led workshops, circles, and coached mixed folks one-on-one, mostly around issues of identity, belonging, and impact. And so I had finally reached my dream, but something broke down. And I'll share some more of my story in a bit, but what I realized that while my chair is too close to the desk is what I'm realizing right now. But what I realize is that while my dream is to leave a positive impact on the world, I can't do that when I'm burnt out, resentful, or serving others more than myself. And I've seen family, friends, and people around me give everything into their goals or dreams and sacrificing themselves in the process because they didn't have the tools to listen to their own intuition around what they needed, plus systems of oppression that keep us focused on hustling and grinding as well. And sadly, it also happened to me. But here's what I know now, that there's a lot of change and transformation that's really needed in this world. And we don't have to listen to the systems of oppression that tell us that we have to sacrifice ourselves to make those changes. So that's my why. That's my big ass dream. I want to see you, me, all of us thriving and following our dreams so that we can be better ancestors for ourselves, really, first and foremost, and for future generations. So my intention for this session, I have three main ones. The first two are fun and connection. I really hope that you try out some of the exercises and things I will do today and have fun doing them. I also hope that you'll feel connected either to me, maybe someone else here, and most importantly, that you leave feeling a little bit more connected to another part of yourself. I, oh, wrong way. I also hope there's a new awareness that you're working towards, and with your true definition of thriving, not anyone else's, so that you can achieve your dreams and goals grounded in your own authentic way. So my guess is that if you're here, you want to start or continue working on your dreams or goals without sacrificing your well-being. And that can look a lot of different ways, but whatever it is, you really want this thing to actually happen. And so, spoiler alert, this workshop is not about me giving you like the perfect morning routine or like the best journal prompts to thrive. Because I know that you're probably tired of the cookie cutter rules and want to chase your dreams and thrive in ways that honor you, your cultures, and maybe even your ancestors, past, present, future. So what I want to know, and I'll put this in the chat, how does it impact you, to you in your life, to not be chasing your creative and or impactful dreams? What happens when that's not happening for you? So I'll put it on the chat and on the screen here. And again, would love to see your answers in the chat, or feel free just to journal it for yourself as well. I'll give you a minute to, just think about that. How does it impact you in your life not to be chasing your creative and or impactful dreams? And someone saying, yeah, it can be very painful. It's something that you desire and want so badly, and it's hard to see time and things just moving on without that. So, there's what I'll be talking about today. One of the solutions, one more answer here, is feeling very unfulfilled and getting depressed. Yeah. No, thank you all for sharing. And today I'm going to talk about, and just one, possible way forward is relies on trust. And I think following your dreams and thriving involves trusting yourself and your intuition to go with what is authentic and real for you. I'll just read one more answer from this question in the chat. There's lack of purpose some days and feel imposter syndrome sometimes, like I don't deserve it. And I just want to say thank you so much all for sharing your authentic responses here in the chat, and just like, this is this is my why, because I want you to feel like you can get there. So, but we'll get there. Don't worry. But now I just want to share a little bit about my story, like how I was chasing my dreams and not thriving. So I said that a little bit earlier. For most of my career, because as a woman of color, I've always been told and wanted to, in some ways, given like 110% to whatever job, no matter if I aligned with the organization or not. And I spent a lot of time over serving others, especially at work. And I did that so often that I would burn out. And for a long time, I blamed it on not finding the right company or passion or dream or my purpose. And there's some truth to all of that. But late 2020, I started serving mostly mixed folks, like I mentioned earlier, and finally felt like those things, that passion, dream, purpose, that they were aligned. And I felt super ambitious, if I can say it. I started workshops, I was creating content and coaching, all things I loved doing and wanted more of, and like all the jobs I had before. And it was all for a community that I was really passionate about, right? But it happened again. I burnt out and physically just like couldn't keep working at the pace I had set for myself. So what happened? Well, I realized that I had been chasing a story of thriving that wasn't mine. I was still giving all of myself to work, to my passions, with no rest or rejuvenation for myself. I had really stopped listening to what my own intuition had to say about my physical, mental, and emotional limits. So in late February 2021, with like some circles and other events planned, I had to cancel it all and really just focus on the clients I had at the moment. So deep breath. After a season of deep reflection, healing, and just really recalibration, I worked on redefining my dreams, identifying the unhelpful stories that kept cycling me through burnout, and started creating sustainable actions to carry me forward. And now, while throughout that time, I was helping others deepen their impact and continue thriving for themselves, I now do it from just a much more aligned and genuine place and space for myself. So I'll put this question in the chat, and I'll say it out loud. But I'm curious, what would be possible for you if working towards your dreams was aligned with your thriving? I'm going to give you a moment to think about that, because maybe it's something it's something I hadn't thought about. I thought I had to like hustle and grind to reach my dreams. And so, yeah, but what's possible if, as you're working towards your dreams, that was aligned with you actually thriving too? And again, feel free to answer in chat, but otherwise, yeah, feel free just to journal for yourself as well. Someone said, yeah, it's possible to feel both mentally and physically good every day, feeling accomplished. Yeah, it starts to, it's just like, yeah, from here, start letting those answers that you see spark other ideas. And, that's what I love about workshops, is that you all get to feed off each other as well. So someone else is saying, being excited to work for myself, and others feeling purpose and a bigger picture, feeling the legacy. Yeah, like I said before, that for me is super important. Like feeling the legacy that like I'm doing this, and, not only following my dreams, but taking care of my whole self, not just for me, but for future generations as well, to my legacy. Yeah, I love that. So today I'm going to talk about 3 keys that have come up from my story, from my experience, and my experience with clients. The 3 keys to chasing your dreams and thriving, and really building what I call a self-trust muscle. So like I said before, I think finding that trust within yourself is so important to following your dreams. You're chasing your dreams and thriving, if I can remember the name of my own workshop. This is what I'll talk about today. So the first one that I want to mention is strengthening your own voice. And in order to strengthen your voice, we need to identify all the other voices and influences that aren't yours. And what's beautiful about everyone here is that I know you all have a multitude of identities, cultures, experiences that have shaped you and continue to shape you, and will continue to shape you over the course of your life. And while some of those are helpful, there are many that aren't. And when you're able to start identifying which voices are yours and which are not, and which are helpful and which are not, you get to focus your intention on strengthening that knowing, wise voice, the one that you want in the driver's seat, making the decisions that move you towards thriving. So we are going to start with our first activity here, and it's around what definitions of thriving have you heard in your life? So I want you to think of, yes, just some examples of definitions of thriving that you've heard in your life. So some examples that I think a lot of us have heard and that are true for my life are: 1, capitalism has told me that money is the only way to thrive, that I can only thrive if I pull myself up by the bootstraps and make millions of dollars. Supremacy culture has told me that thriving involves scarcity, that only some of us get to thrive, and it's either you or me. And so those are kind of big system examples of thriving that I've heard in my life, and I'm sure you have as well. And my tinier bubble circles, my Chinese grandma, maybe some of you have Asian grandparents too, that told you, the only way to be successful for me, she told me, is to be a lawyer. That's the only way to thrive. My working class family, including my dad and my mom, and the way to thrive was to go to university, to college. But there's other stories of thriving that have been helpful to me. Like my grandpa, my Chinese grandpa, he valued humor and telling jokes, and that like was always a strong message with him, that thriving is laughing together and bringing smiles to people's faces. And my mom, she's really big on resting and having time to rest outside of work and things. And there's also social media accounts that I follow, like the Nap Ministry, and that they also remind me to rest. And so maybe you've heard some powerful influences from someone this weekend as well. But yeah, take a minute and write down what definitions of thriving you've heard in your life. I'm curious, if there's any similar ones to the ones that I mentioned. Or maybe, you have, I'm sure you have some unique ones of your own. And while you're writing, I just have to show off my left-handed mug because I'm left-handed, and there's not many, small things that you get to celebrate around left-hand. I mean, there's a lot to celebrate as a left-hander, but when you find like a item that was just made for you, it's always really nice. So while you write down your definitions, I'm just going to celebrate my mug and the water that's in it to keep me hydrated here today. All right, and as you look at your list, kind of like make a little mark or something. Which of these definitions of thriving have been helpful to you? And maybe, which ones are you ready to move on from? Somebody's talking in the chat about, there was a definition of thriving that meant getting married to a man and having children. And I'm not sure what WKN stands for, but maybe working by choice. This has been something hard to redefine for me. Oh, working. Okay, that's what I thought. It's working as well. Yeah, those are the only ways to thrive. Yeah, there's a lot of cultures that believe that, societies that tell us that that's the only way to thrive. Yeah, so what I like to do now, so this is our first activity, and I like to do a little stoplight check-in between activities. And this is not a way to judge yourself of what, if you are red, yellow, or green in this check-in. It's really for you to, just take a moment of self-reflection to see like where you are, and maybe where you need a little bit more support in your life. So this is how it's going to go. I'm going to read some qualities for red, yellow, and green. And just in the chat, let me know where you feel like you're falling. If you feel like you're more in red, more in yellow, more in green at the moment. Sometimes people put that they're in between, which is also fine. There's no right or wrong answers. And there's no, again, like I said, there's no judgment here. We're not judging each other. Please don't judge yourself. Have some compassion about where you are now. We've all been in all the different color sections as well. So if you identify with being in red right now, this means that the unhelpful stories and definitions have taken over your life. You're living someone else's story of success or someone else's dreams. You're burnt out, tired, and craving something different. So if you feel like those statements apply to you, then you would fit into the red for now. Yeah, the next category is yellow. So at yellow, you're aware of most of the stories and definitions that you wrote down already. and you swing from feeling like really good about how things are going to flirting with burnout. And you're wanting to put more into your dreams, but things are okay right now. So you're not maybe willing to risk giving up good right now for thriving. So if those statements feel like they apply to you, then you can write down yellow. And then green is when you feel like when unhelpful stories show up, you have the tools and resources to deal with them. You know what it feels like to own your own thriving story, and you're showing up boldly every day for your dreams on your terms. So in the chat, yeah, let me know where you stand if you feel like you're red, yellow, green. Yeah, and if you'd like me to reread any of those, please let me know. And yeah, if you're not green right now, what do you feel like is in your way? So we see some yellow in here. Sorry for all the all caps. I didn't have a chance to change that. But if you're not green right now, what's in your way? You know, just journal, you know, again, always feel free to share in chat and I can talk it out loud with you. But yeah, or just feel free to journal. And, you know, just think of what's one small step you could take today to move closer to the green. And if that doesn't feel like anything's coming to you yet, don't worry, we're going to get to that one a little bit later. So again, identify where you are, red, yellow, or green. And if you're not green right now, what's in your way? And yeah, what's one small step you could take today to move closer to the green? All right. Yeah, I like that. Someone said yellow on way to green, progressing. Okay. And if you're not, again, no judgment if you're not there yet either. I'm here to support you wherever you are in your journey. So the next, before we move on, I just like to shake it off. So we're going to switch into the next key of chasing your dreams and thriving. But sometimes when we talk about those stories and, you know, the things that like are not our own voices, it can kind of hold us down. It can feel a little bit like they're gripping our mind. And yeah, it's easy to say like shake it off your mind or your emotions or whatever, but like more and more research is telling us how like all those things are connected, and it's just really powerful if you actually also physically shake. And so whatever feels good for you to do in that way, maybe just shaking your hands like me or shaking your head. But let's move on to the next part, which is a little bit more exciting and is crystallizing your unique vision. So now that we've built awareness of all the stories you've been told about thriving and following your dreams, it's time to really picture what this means for you. When you're crystal clear about what you want your life to look like, you can start building actions, habits, decisions that align with that vision and get you closer to that. So before we jump into the next activity, I'd love to hear, you know, what does thriving actually mean to you? So we just talked about what definitions other people have for us, but what does thriving mean to you? Like the actual concept or word. And again, I dropped that in the chat. What does thriving mean to you? I'll let you marinate on that a little bit. Again, feel free to write in the chat. Oh, I like this one. It means doing things I love at my full potential. Controlling your time, someone else controlling your time and energy. Yes, you're excited to work towards your goals. Okay. Yes, I love it. So it can mean all those things. And, you know, I did a little Google search of like, what does thriving mean? And like the simplest definition I could find is that like, it means that you're doing well. But, you know, let's dig a little bit deeper about what this could mean for you. With with one-on-one clients, I help clarify things like purpose and vision in the moment, following what their emotions, body, and thoughts are truly craving and desiring. But with a bigger group like this, or if you're watching the replay, it's most practical to do this through visualization. So visualization, you can think of it like a guided meditation, and visualizations can be powerful because they get our minds out of the everyday and into a more imaginative and playful state. So this is going to be a short visualization, only a couple of minutes, and wherever you are is fine, whatever you're capable of doing, talking about like all the sounds and things around you, it's fine. Whatever is happening for you in this moment is totally what you're going to get out of it and acceptable and good. So what we're going to do is we're going to engage all of your senses around the topic of thriving. And, we talked about 5 senses in most of the dominant culture that we all live under, but maybe some of you have indigenous or other cultures, other parts of your culture that recognize other senses. Please bring those in as well. So I'm going to name the 5 senses, but also give space if you have your own senses from whatever culture you bring to this table, to this space. So go ahead and get comfortable. If it feels good, you can close your eyes and just take a couple of deep breaths, breathing in and breathing out. One more time, breathing in deeply and breathing out. And in your imagination, a beam of light appears in front of you. And I want you to notice the color. How bright is it? Is there any texture or anything else to notice? Go ahead and take a step into the beam of light. In an instant, you're transported into your dream world, a world where you are thriving. And again, we're going to tap into all your senses. And first, notice what you can see. What are the dominant colors that are popping up? What are the shapes or landscapes? Is it city or nature? Are there any people around or not? Notice what you can smell, taste, hear. Feel around with your hands, body, skin. What sensations, temperature, textures do you feel? Again, if you recognize any other senses, notice what comes up for you around those. Absorb all of it for another few seconds before you have to leave. And ask yourself, what do you want to take with you right now? It's time to step back into the beam of light, but before you step back in, you take one last deep inhale of this thriving life. And then as you step back into the light, you're transported back to the here and now. And when you're ready, slowly bring your awareness back to this space and take a moment to write down what came up for you in that visualization. What What did you notice in the senses? Whatever came up for you, go ahead and take a minute to journal about that now. And yeah, I'm curious. I'm putting this question in the chat. Feel free to answer. What's the one thing you wanted to take with you? So at the very end, I asked, what's one thing you want to take with you from that experience? What's one part of that thriving life you want to take with you? All right, well, I'll move on to this. As you answer that question in the chat, I'll move on to this check-in. So again, same thing as before, just notice where you are, where you might need some more support. That's all this is. So red, the statement, there's only one statement for each. So for red, you feel like, if you're at red, you feel like this vision of thriving feels impossible or way far out in the future, like 10, 20, 30 years, whatever, out in the future. So if you're at red, you feel like this vision that you just had of thriving feels impossible or way far out in the future. If you are at yellow, or if you feel like you're at yellow, parts of this vision of thriving are available to you right now, but you're not sure if you'll be able to add any more of it into your life. You're really like, nah, this is like all that it's capable or possible right now. And if you're at green, you're either already living this vision or about to live more of it soon because you trust that some version of it is possible. So again, be kind to yourself. Again, this is just kind of a gauge to help notice where you're at, where you might need some more support. And if you feel comfortable, go ahead and put where you feel like you are right now in the chat, red, yellow, or green, or somewhere in between. People love to put the in between ones. I don't know why, but yeah, feel free to do that as well. And again, same questions as before. If you're not green right now, what's in your way? I'll drop these in here. And what's one small step you could take today to move closer to the green? All right, so the last key we're going to move into now. So we're going, sorry, I was just reading the chat. So yeah, I love this action that you could take closer to moving to green, is talking about your goals with yourself more and others to help you stay accountable. That's a great way to, yeah, to move you closer to green, and talking about your vision and things like that. One inspires you a little bit more. You can, and if you have the finding the right people to share that with, inspires them as well. And so hopefully, you have those people in your life that can encourage you and keep you going. So the last thing, again, before we go to the last thing, I just want to shift the energy a little bit. So if you can, grab something in your room where you are, if you're in a room or outside, whatever, wherever you are, grab something or look at something that just brings you some joy. Inhale it, hold it, whatever you need. I'm going to go back to holding this cup that I treated myself to while I was at home in Seattle. So yeah, just take a moment and grab something in your room or look at something wherever you are, and that brings you joy, and just take it in for a minute before we shift to the last key to chasing your dreams and thriving, which is committing to one action. So, committing to one small single action today is one way to just start building the self-trust, which again, like I said before, trusting yourself and your intuition, for me, is really important when you're wanting to follow your dreams and thriving, because then you're able to like really stay true to what is authentic and real for you. So, but let me start with an example of what that can look like. So at the end of and I'll share that with a client story basically. So at the end of every coaching session, clients and we co-create actions that align with this new insight that they've gained from our time together. So these can range from something like really short, like small actions, like saying an affirmation every day, to something, committing to something bigger, like having a difficult conversation with their boss or their partner, something like that. So I had one client who, in one of our first sessions, committed to making their bed and a cup of tea every morning. So that's why there's this cup of tea on the slide here. And some of you might be like, okay, that's it. That was like their big eye-opening takeaway, but hear me out. So 3 months later, when we finished our time together, we had a celebration session to reflect and review their progress. And they said committing to that one small action every day at the beginning of our time together, which they were still doing, by the way, because they had the accountability and the support to do it, shifted everything. And as they showed up for themselves, they showed themselves that they could do that. They built up the confidence and trust to take other bigger actions and steps. So by the end of our time together, this person had left their job and, planned on following what they really wanted to do, and which for them was studying more and focusing on their studies. So how does a committed action build trust? Well, when you consistently deliver on your promises to yourself, what happens is, your intuition, your body, really all of you knows that they can trust, as in other parts of you can trust yourself to take that next step. And before I move any further, I want to clarify how I'm defining action here, because a committed action includes rest, and rest in all the varieties of it, like spiritual rest, physical rest, mental, emotional rest. All of those are actions. So this is not about hustling harder or more. It's about committing to one thing that works for you. And again, like in my example, it was really something very simple. It was making their bed and making that cup of tea for themselves to start off their day. So let's do our final activity. So with whatever came up in the last visualization around your thriving life, I want to break that down a bit more and make it more concrete. So take a minute and go back to that question. I'll put it in the chat again. What is the one thing you wanted to take away from your thriving vision? So I did this exercise for myself. I'm not just like throwing these exercises at you all and not doing them myself. So when I did this visualization for myself, what became really clear is I wanted to take away more creativity for myself, not creativity for others, but creativity and creation really for myself. So again, I would love to hear what some of the things you wanted to take away from your thriving vision were from that example. And from there, what is one thriving practice you want to commit to today? So again, giving my example of I want to have more creative creations for myself. Okay, I want to, how that looks for me is I'd like to, do some kind of art or creation for myself every day. So that's what I would like to commit to. Actually, I think I have slides about this. So what is one thing you want to take away from your thriving vision? Actually, there's two follow-up questions. One is, what is one thriving practice you want to commit to today? And the follow-up question to that is, how can you make that a little bit smaller? So research around habits. So spoiler alert, we're talking about habits here, but if you don't like, I don't like the word habits. There's some like, muck tied up with that for me at least, but great if it works for you. But habits, actions, rituals, practices, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it a practice because it's something that I'm, working practice. It's something that I'm working on to get better at every day. So, or not, it's something that I just get to play around with. So some people call habits play. So I like that one as well. So how can I make this smaller? So when I say that, there's two things. One, it's making it like the smallest version of that action. So for me, I said I want to create art or something creative every day. So what's like the smallest way I could do that? And then the other thing about habits and research is that it works best if you tie it to something that you already do. So like before, I said that I'm an avid journal writer, as I said in my introduction. So I journal every day. That's a practice that I've had for years now. And so a way to make this thriving practice more concrete, does that make sense, is I'm going to add it to my journaling practice that I already have. The last 2 minutes, I'm going to commit to just, drawing and doodling for myself for 2 minutes every day. So that's how I'm going to take it, add it to something that I already do and make it smaller, just enough for me to like start with. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. You can give me a yes or no in the chat. But yeah, I'd love to hear what some of your ideas are as well. And yeah, well, I'll give you a moment to do that. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move on and hope that you all are capturing that in your journals for yourselves, if not in the chat. So one last check-in for you all is, again, just see where you're at. Red is, you don't think you'll be able to commit to anything, but you'll try. Great. I like that. Yellow, you're committed to this small action that you've thought of, but don't see how it actually help. And green, you can see the potential of how doing this small action will bring you closer to a thriving life. And again, same questions. If you're not, well, first of all, identify where you're at, red, yellow, or green. And if you're not green right now, what's in your way? And yeah, I'll stop recording in a little bit, but as we finish up, and if you need some extra help around this, then I'm happy to stay on the line and talk this through out verbally. But yeah, I'd love to at least see where you all are at, where you feel like you are, red, yellow, or green. And we'll go from there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up a little bit, do a little bit of a review. So a review of the 3 keys of chasing your dreams and thriving. So the first thing we talked about is strengthening your voice by identifying what are the voices that are yours and what are not, what's helpful, what's not. We looked at crystallizing your vision on what your actual unique definition of thriving looks like. And we've committed to one action to start building that self-trust muscles that will get you moving forward. So what I'd like to know is, like, out of these 3 pieces, which of these 3 pieces do you know you need the most support with and would make the biggest difference for you in chasing your dreams? So I'll drop that question in the chat for you to think about. Again, which of these 3 pieces do you know you need the most support with and would make the biggest difference for you in chasing your dreams? Okay, probably number 2, because then that'll lead to 1. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. So there's times in my life when I need to like focus on just my vision, and then yeah, and it's a dual process. It does work together. Whenever you start to get clear about what you want, some of those other voices from the past, from our culture, from wherever come into play too. And so yeah, it's a journey to heal those and recognize those for yourself, for sure. Yeah, anyone else wants to drop in? Which one of those you feel like you need the most support with and would make the biggest difference for you in chasing your dreams? Feel free to drop that in the chat. But yeah, I mean, today I've given you, these 3 keys you need to chase your dreams and thrive. But here's the truth. It's really hard to implement these on your own. It's easy to fall back into what you've been doing before or to give in to fear, guilty, right? Can anyone else relate to that? Without a solid support system, it's really hard to push through because because a lot of the time we don't know what our blocks are and we don't have someone to help hold us accountable. So what I like to offer for everyone here today, and for if you're watching the replay too, is if you loved what we talked about here and you want to lean more into this work that we did today, then I'm offering everyone here a free one-to-one call with me. On that call, we're going to do 3 things. We're going to get crystal clear on your goals for the next 3 to 6 months. So for the person that said that number 2 is what they needed, crystallizing their vision, that's what we'll do. We'll get crystal clear on that vision for you, especially focusing on a certain time period, those 3 to 6 months. We'll identify 3 things that are in your way of achieving those goals right now. And together we'll co-create a path of actions and support to help get you there. So here's the link to schedule that call. I'm gonna just drop it here in the chat. And while I love these groups, I really can't wait to get connected with some of you one-on-one and get you moving towards those big ass dreams we talked about while thriving. So to wrap up in chat, I'd love to hear, what are you taking away from today's session? And I'll drop that here. What are you taking away from today's session? And as you think about that and write those in the chat, I'm just gonna end with I'd love to stay connected with you either way. And again, the best ways to do that, one is either on Instagram or, signing up for that call. So I'll leave those there for you to connect with me there. And so, just want to thank everyone for attending. I'll stay on the line a little bit longer if you want to follow up with anything that we've talked about. But otherwise, if you have to go, I wish you the best and hope to see you on a call sometime soon. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.